Hello YouTube, this is Dakota from Bowtied Media, and today we've got our first reviews roundup of 2025 with the albums and EPs that came out in January. Yeah, it's the end of April, but I had a kid, so we're getting to it now. First up, we've got Splitter with For Your Mind. Splitter starts off 2025 with one of the strongest underground dubstep projects I've heard in a long time. The production quality is fantastic, the record is sonically bold, and incredibly creative. In true underground fashion, there really isn't one genre that this EP really resides in, as it bounces around a slew of dubstep, brostep, future rhythm, hybrid trap, and even throws in some gospel aesthetics. This is Bowtied 9 out of 10. Then we've got MILKBLOOD with Alter Part 1. I am absolutely in love with this new trio of MILKBLOOD tunes. Each track here perfectly encapsulates their kind of signature electropop-leaning sound, built primarily for the core EDM audience, like myself and probably you. The production is immaculate, even shimmering at times, with hooks that constantly give and give. Bowtied 9. Then we got Lane 8 with Childish-ish, a quick 3-track EP of deep house, kind of leftover tracks from the Childish album. I think the songs are fairly good, but I can see why they didn't make the original cut. I'll give this a Bowtied 6. Then we got Alan Walker with Walkerworld 2.0. Alan Walker starts 2025 off with, quite frankly, his worst record to date. At 23 songs and over an hour long, Walkerworld 2.0 mainly exists as a compilation of his best hits from the last 3 years, mixed in with a slew of new yet tired tracks. Individually, the tracks aren't too bad on their own, but when put together back to back to back to back to back to back of boring and derivative, uninteresting tracks, it really starts to weigh on me. Bowtied 1. Then we've got Hex Cougar with Embody, one of the greatest hybrid trap EPs of the decade. Hex Cougar starts off 2025 with what is undoubtedly his strongest record to date. All 5 tracks here bring their own energy, vibe, and sound design, while holistically playing their own part in one larger project. What I love more than anything about this EP is the progressive song structure of many tracks, making the tunes turn into more grand, anthemic tracks, while firmly planting themselves within the trap sound. Bowtied 9. Then we got TESSERACTS with 2 Turntables and The Mic. TESSERACTS absolutely killed this 4-track, neurofunk-leaning EP, having added an underground hip-hop MC aesthetic and tone across each track. The production is clean, the mixing is great, and this whole thing is more complex and creative than your typical overarching drum and bass or neurofunk project. I'll give this a Bowtied 8. Then we got Neddie with Passerby. Neddie's debut record is a brilliant exploration of sound design and variety. Every song feels like its own unique universe, while the holistic tracklist maintains an overall sense of cohesiveness. Whether it's crushing brostep or the delicate sounds of ambient drone, Neddie has captured a moment in time that feels authentic and full. I'll give this a Bowtied 8. Then we've got Knock2 with nolimit. Knock2's debut solo record, nolimit, is the significant stake in the ground to start the year off. Knock2 is one of the premier party anthem producers right now, and is continually showcasing his creative prowess with high-quality bangers. This record is incredibly consistent in its tone, sound design, and quality, albeit with a slightly less powerful back end of the tracklist. I have no doubts that this will be a defining record for dance music in 2025, and potentially beyond. I'll give this a Bowtied 8.
Tryna get this paper, tryna get this weight on my shoulders. I know they hate us.
Then we got Logic with Aquarius III. Logic's Ultra 85 follow-up EP is a decent addition to the overall narrative, but one that is a little too focused on expanding the world and less on the musicality of it all. I can see how these songs didn't land on the original record. I will give this a Bowtied 7.
Let me give you what you want.
Then we got Mac Miller with Balloonerism. Originally written in 2014, Mac Miller's now sophomore posthumous record Balloonerism is more poignant than ever. Bouncing around a variety of jazz rap and abstract hip-hop styles, Mac Miller both delivers some of his strongest production and harrowing lyricism yet. While his obsession with death and its metaphor for selling out within the industry was topical at the time, the narrative takes on a whole new meaning after his 2018 death. This might be Mac Miller's strongest record to date, potentially one of the strongest posthumous records of all time. I'll give this a Bowtied 9. Then we got Malaa with All In. Malaa's primary record of this double LP release is not only the stronger of the two albums, but some of Malaa's best work in quite some time. This more bass tech house release record is, yes, that primarily, but also sees Malaa venture into some new disco and mid-tempo territory. At only 8 tracks and 24 minutes, it's a relatively short album, but in my opinion, the perfect length for Malaa. I'll give this a Bowtied 7. And then we got the Malaa Alter Ego record with Blackout. The second alter half of Malaa's double LP release isn't quite as strong as All In, but still a collection of fun, easily danceable tracks. Leaning more into drum and bass and strictly techno territory, Blackout is the heavier of the two projects, and in the same breath, not quite Malaa's best. I'll give this a Bowtied 6. Then we've got Party Pupils with Virtual Clarity. With their most explicitly danceable record to date, Party Pupils brings the heat with 5 club-focused, primarily deep house tracks that largely emphasize the beat over lyricism. Fairly uncommon for them up to this point, honestly. I'll give this a Bowtied 7. Then we got Rose Grey with Louder, Please. Eurodance is still very much alive and well. Rose Grey's debut record clearly indicates that there will always be space for UK-centric dance pop. Even then, this album is quite fantastic, with great mixing, earworm melodies, and lyricism that's trying to be sexy and very much succeeds in doing so. I'll give this a Bowtied 8. Then we got rshand with Overthinking. Another great melodic house EP from rshand with great mixing and atmosphere. These projects are on the simpler side, but they work quite well. I'll give this a Bowtied 7. Then we got MUERTE and Stone Level with Stone to Death. A serviceable rhythm project with a fair amount of hip-hop influences. I do think that these more hip-hop leaning tracks were the best of the project, while the more straightforward rhythm tracks felt generic and repetitive. I'll give this a Bowtied 5. Then we've got Sullivan King with Chaos Will Bring Peace. A very Sullivan King EP with plenty of screamo, metal elements, aggressive dubstep production, and rough mixing. There isn't a ton of consistency throughout this EP, and I think the slew of features don't really help much, if at all. I'll give this a Bowtied 5. Then we got Valentino Khan with Panorama. After a decent EP just a year prior, I had assumed Valentino Khan was going to approach his forthcoming projects with more intentionality and purpose. But this latest EP is a fairly sloppy tech deep house record with little variety or creativity. Bowtied 3. Then we got FKA Twigs with EUSEXUA. EUSEXUA explores a plethora of various narratives, genres, and styles to great success. An unveiling of her innermost struggles and identity, FKA Twigs once again opens up, this time with more physicality. I adore the production on this project that feels inherently 2000s EDM with big synth sustains and nostalgic trance melodies. This isn't your typical record in many aspects, and that's part of its charm. I'll give this a Bowtied 9.
Baby, I can't fall again. Baby, I can't fall again.
We got helloworld with Heartpiece. For as creative and unique as helloworld's sound has been up to this point, his debut album here didn't really feel like it landed the mark. I don't think the tracks are bad by any stretch of imagination, but I'm just shocked that within a 15-track helloworld album, we pretty much only got generic electropop tracks. I'm gonna give this a Bowtied 6. Then we got Whipped Cream with Careline. This brand new Careline era of whipped cream is sadly one I don't really resonate much with. For the most part, I loved Whipped Cream's unique blending of techno and trap styles with their sound design that is uniquely her own. Yet this new direction of sound is one that teeters primarily into the modern trends of techno with little added spice. I'll give this a Bowtied 5. Then we got Vladimir Couchimar and Apache with Oratores, Bellatores, Laboratories. Absolutely gorgeous sound design and production. It's just paired with the attention span of a Zoomer. Bowtied 7. Then we got The Weeknd with Hurry Up Tomorrow. While this may not be the flashiest of albums, this might just be Abel's most consistent record to date. And considering the almost hour-and-a-half runtime, that's even more impressive of a feat. The features are all pretty great, the production is classic The Weeknd, and the storytelling feels genuine. A great record to go out on. Bowtied 8. But that's been the Reviews Roundup for records in January. Let me know if I missed any records that came out back then, or what you even thought about them. Are you still thinking about these albums that came out 3 months ago? I'm curious to hear what you have to say in the comment section below. But other than that, I'm Dakota from Bowtied Media, and I'll see you guys in another video.